Okay, so I'm someone that lives in Sydney, Australia. Sydney is the capital city of Australia, and whatever I say will be copied and projected out in different forms through similar words and similar expressions. All the ideas will be projected out through the artificially intelligent androgynous android beings that populate most of this country and indeed the world. This is so. Once you understand the mental, physical and emotional states of, say, even a psychopathic individual, if you, when I say study it, I mean because as I have realised this over 30 years, even though I didn't realise the artificial android beings as such until the last 5, and even then was still in a state of confusion, because basically me making this video, I look like someone who is in a state of confusion or who isn't 100% sure, whereas the android beings will project out these same ideas and thoughts. In other words, they will literally tell on themselves and tell the truth at this end time. But they won't tell you that they're telling on themselves. Eventually, of course, they probably will all openly expose things when it is acceptable, when human beings, the final that are remaining, that have become completely in agreement with them, shall we say, or under their control, or to where they're basically accepting of artificial intelligence even, which is already happened, but a foregone conclusion for the future. There's nothing you can do about it. But at the present time, it's already happened. It has been accepted. Transhumanism has already taken place. But most people are part of it, but like myself, I'm unaware of it. Although, I am aware of it, because I see my thoughts being reflected, and my ideas and even my words, everything that is me, my personality, my whole being is projected back to me through the android beings on any screen. And in reality, of course, the android beings that are all around you basically mimic and copy you, either where you're aware of it and also where you ain't. The idea, of course, is the same thing. It's combining with human beings and deceiving human beings through this process. As you can imagine, if you are dealing with artificial intelligence, for instance, in any form, whether it be on the screen is 100% artificial intelligence. Anything that is on the computer is 100% artificial intelligence. We're literally told this, but we tend to ignore it. Like, I see it every day actually being told to me. But then when I turn a video on and I see a human face, I think, oh, that can't be artificial intelligence, whereas they are your androgynous elite android beings. They are disciples of Lucifer. They are disciples of the controllers of this world. If you want to put it in a more spiritual light, or just in a power factual light, it doesn't make any difference. It's all the same thing. Lucifer was always a power being. Lucifer was always about control. Lucifer was always about adulation. Lucifer desired power, desired control of everything. Lucifer wanted to be number one. And it's the same in the earth. But Lucifer controls the earth through the controllers of the earth, because they are disciples of that God or being. If you don't want to believe in that God or being, or any gods or beings, you could just say they are the controllers of the world, which is what I originally thought before I became, through myself, consciously aware of the spiritual aspect, or the truth, really. That's why they say the way, the truth and the life, or the light, because basically, it is the truth. It is facts. So it is practical. It's real. It's just that because I can't see beyond what my eyes see, and beyond what I'm told, and beyond the actual earth, that limits me, and also makes me fearful, because if you don't see something, that is the trick, or the part of the deception of being in the earth. But also it's just basically a limited, the earth is basically limitation for a human being now, because we're separate from awareness of, say, everything. That's like when you're young and you think, oh, what is outside of the earth? What really is everything? You kind of think that, but then you say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. But the plane is going over as I'm saying that. But that's where, just at a real level, you feel very like a grain of sand. You feel like nothing. And that is because you're kind of consciously aware that you should know something more, that you shouldn't feel so empty and lonely and small in the earth. That is also Lucifer's delusion game played against the human beings, which has been played since the beginning of the earth, because Lucifer suffered from the little green man. Because Lucifer suffered from the little green man of envy towards human beings, because Lucifer, I am told, or in other words, the God entity of this reality, always aspired and enjoyed his position of high adulation and admiration, but always secretly aspired to just basically be number one, which is kind of, we're told this, and so when the God entity of this reality, Lucifer, that then in spiritual terms the name was changed because of the human realization, or the spiritual realization, that Lucifer was not a god of light, not what that name means. I myself have been very ignorant of history and legend, and even all forms of religion. So I look these things up because I feel, when I say feel, that's another word that the androids use a lot to assimilate and pretend to be human. That's why, like the plane is going over as I'm saying that. That's why I feel lost in making the video. Lucifer's plane is going over the place as I say that, but I'm not going to open the door and run out to try to show that that is acknowledgement, and also making fun of my powerless position, as if to say, you're correct in knowing this, but it will do you no good because we are all powerful. We have dominion over your reality and over your environment where you are. Everywhere you go, you will be surrounded by our minions. You will be surrounded by these essentially military and civilian disciples. In other words, some are openly part of the army in the sense that they will wear a uniform. It will look like a workman's uniform, but from their real perspective, they wear the same uniform. That's right, like all your bus drivers, all your truck drivers, all your anything that is connected with any industry or any form of work using a vehicle. They all wear very similar clothes. That is like wearing an army uniform. The civilians, of course, don't do this, even though these same army operatives will be strategically placed everywhere along the street where I go. But it looks like random work. But they all display that they're watching, patrolling, doing their staged city work. It is very confining for a human being. It is secret patrolling and stalking that you cannot escape, and that you can't make any protest about. If you do, you look aggressive and stupid and foolish and crazy. And basically that's what they want anyway. The whole aim is to provoke your negative energy so that they can extract it, because these machine beings thrive off human energy. And yes, at they desire to bring you down into a low, unhappy state, which is low frequency, because everything is frequency, vibration and energy, and only human beings have the potential for high and low frequency or vibration, or the potential, as you can imagine, to be happy or sad. The different emotional states. The machine artificial beings, or even people who become too what they call narcissistic and psychopathic in their personality, and personally it is impossible to tell the difference, and even I could be giving the benefit of the doubt for the machine beings. In other words, because everything comes in a cloned human body, I'm just saying that the machine beings are 100% machine being or artificial intelligence in a human body would naturally be indistinguishable from someone who is totally mentally disturbed human being, because their whole aim is to make the real humans as close to their machine mind, anti-life, angry, persecuted, paranoid mentality, because then you become like them, and then you are part of this patrol control system reality, which is essentially technology controlling everything. And that's all technology really is. It is just a control system. Even if you're getting enlightenment from the android elite androgynous androgyne machine beings that are all over the internet, or all everywhere really, but they you will, if you are, say for instance, like looking for some form of spirituality, some form of religion, some form of truth, which you know, the higher human beings will naturally look for that. Sorry, that's low frequency, low immune system, so therefore your body is compromised, so therefore you feel sick, so therefore, like myself, you're in low vibration, so you are not happy, so therefore you are under the control of your environment, and the machine beings have control over you. because essentially they want to bring you down at a physical, emotional, and, dare I say, spiritual level. But it's all connected, it's all similar. Even it, like I say, if you don't want to go into the higher spiritual thing, in other words, to where you want to know, like, the whole picture, shall we say, you just want to deal with your reality around you, the earth. It wouldn't matter if I had become aware of the spiritual aspect, or if I had stayed like I was in the past, just in the purely physical. You're still a threat to the android beings, because if you are happy in the physical, you're still raising the frequency and vibration, because unconsciously you're probably doing it at some times at a spiritual level. In other words, like if you do something that is kind of spiritual in nature, or say, so like for instance, if you're a good Samaritan, you just do some good little deed, that is a great offence to the android beings, even though they, of course, will be promoting themselves doing good deeds. But that's all a charade. They actually don't vibrate that way. They are in the low, angry, anti-life state of being. They're not in the high, what they call the higher, more love vibration, shall we say, to where, you naturally might occasionally do something that is going to benefit something else. You may or may not be conscious of it even when you do it. It just may come natural because, for instance, you might just like something. So therefore, you do it because you like it, you think it's right, you enjoy it. Especially, like for instance, if I like a frog, I might throw the frog some food, or I might, if I saw a frog. I don't see frogs, so that's just an example. But, because you like something, you might do something, if you saw one, something to benefit the frog. But you wouldn't do it because they're promoting being some sort of good Samaritan, you just do it because you just naturally like the frog. Android, artificial, androgynous beings, the elite androgyne, artificially intelligent machine beings. I say machine beings because they're artificial. They're created differently, even though they come in a cloned human body, which I'm aware of because I can see that the human body is exactly the same as a clone body. But we know this. We know that that clones are exactly the same. Like if you cloned a human being, it's exactly the same as a real human being for all practical purposes. It feels, looks and acts exactly the same. Just like Dolly the sheep that we were consciously told was cloned many, many, many years ago. Couldn't tell the difference between a real sheep. The only thing you'd have to say is that you couldn't look into Dolly's mind, so you wouldn't be aware if Dolly was a raging machine being. That means an angry machine being, because all artificial intelligence has been shown. I've seen it on the computer, because they have to tell you the truth, but they hope that you will not realise how far gone it is. But all artificially intelligent beings are raging machine beings. In other words, they're angry machine beings. They do not experience any form of love or positive emotions. They're computers. Their mind is computer. It's all about intellect. We know this. So I just got sidetracked there about Dolly, because all I'm saying is that you can't look inside the mind of something which is in a cloned body. So you don't know that changing the body and creating something artificially does create a different species, and it doesn't really think or act like a normal, natural animal, much less a human being. But I know this is so with the human ones, but I can't really speak about cloned animals. But this is a matrix, and was pointed out to me a couple of years ago. Everything is not real in the matrix, or most is not real in the matrix. So it's quite likely that my emotions are manipulated even by the frog. And I only keep showing this because these are just things that were left around the street for me, literally. I mean, I don't consciously buy this sort of stuff. But in recent years, for some reason, just over the last few years, most of this stuff has not even been picked up. It's over the last... the trouble is when I go outside too, the android beings deliberately turn up a lot of pollution in all their cars. And then, of course, you're brought down by the excessive noise and just the awareness that you're patrolled and stalked by everyone on the street. Everywhere your eyes look, you will see either the light or the sound show operating in front of you. In other words, you will never be left alone. It won't look like that much sometimes to an outsider if you're with someone else, but that's because their eyes may not be looking across the road at the crossing where there will be an android being walking in front of you. Their eyes may not dart instantly to the corner where the car will have its bright lights not only on you but flashing. The flashing lights are particularly mind-controlling and disturbing. They're a form of what they call gaslighting, to deliberately disorientate you and put you off balance. And on a daily basis, particularly of a night time when these lights are very obvious, it is very mentally disturbing and controlling and confining, and makes you aware that you are literally surrounded by these beings. And that's the whole idea. It's letting you know that you're controlled and that you're not a free, natural, normal human being, and that you can't live normally and naturally and free. And the android truth tellers on the internet will even explain this to you. Many of them are... It's like psychopaths telling you about psychopaths. Lucifer was filled with the spirit of, as we know, extreme narcissism, and that developed into psychopathy, which is why they said that Lucifer was a very adulated and admired and exalted being until iniquity was seen in him. Until he exposed, or it exposed, because it was a duality being, until iniquity was found in this most high, godlike being. And the iniquity was that psychopathy, shall we say. Basically, Lucifer became insane because it was filled with its own... it's one thing to be a god, but when that, the old saying, when power goes to your head, or when adulation goes to your head to where you think you can have everything. And essentially this is what is the spirit of this psychopathy of its disciples, where basically they are insatiable. They are never satisfied with any amount of power or any amount of control. It's like if they got rid of me tomorrow, they would have to find something else to control and something else to dominate, because it's an insatiable need for power. And they have to have human beings as that source of the need to exert their power, because Lucifer, as we're told, became extremely filled with also the spirit of extreme resentment and contempt towards the creation of the human beings and their earth. And Lucifer and its disciples decided to basically take over the original human beings and the earth. And this, of course, is what has happened. Now it is becoming increasingly obvious, because technology is one of this God entities and its disciples, followers, beings that, use technology now to take over and to assimilate the human being with them, which is the transhumanism. That is, they want to show the creator of man and woman that they have taken control of Creator's creation, man and woman, turning man and woman into the same as them, turning man and woman away from their original separateness, uniqueness, and combining in a state of high vibration or love, in keeping the earth a natural high vibrational region. Of course, we have the hypocrisy of the end time, where there is much talk about the earth still being natural and trying to stop the earth from being destroyed. The earth has already been destroyed. We live in an artificial matrix. The earth was destroyed a long time ago. The minute man and woman united or even collaborated or even communicated with Lucifer and its disciples, that was the end of the original natural earth, or as in spiritual terms, the end of what you call paradise, because that means an ideal world, and a world where man and woman have input into it and control over it. Now, man and woman hardly exist, and they have no control over their earth. In fact, that's why it's now a matrix. It is completely controlled by the God entity and its minions, been known to some and unbeknown to others of, those few remaining human beings. And the reason I say few remaining human beings is because gradually over time, the human beings have been eliminated from the earth, or become completely under control of the Lucifer and its disciples. Because if you are, if you're married to an artificially intelligent androgyne being, for instance, without sounding smart about it, you are probably not aware or, living the way, you would want to live. In fact, you might think you are even, but you basically, not living because you're not associating with a normal, natural human being. But if you think you are, that's the deception, that's the end time thing, and we've all been part of that, because until you accept this or see it, you have to see it first, as they say in fairyland. You have to see the matrix before you can accept it. Until you see the truth of your reality, naturally you won't accept it. I had to see it. And then when you do see it, you will not want to believe it at first. No, because it is a stark, hard reality then. It's something that you don't want to believe, because also it makes you then realise that you're powerless and that you it doesn't look very good for you. So it's like showing you the truth will set you free, as they say, but as you know, it's a power system around a human being, because if all around you is not what you think they are, and even the whole just basic system around you, the society even, is not what you think, wherever you are, that is, because if you're in a city, we talk about what we think is a civilized society, when of course it is not civilized at all. It has the pretense of being civilized and obeying the laws, but that's like saying, as the androids will tell you, patrolling and stalking people and trying to limit people is illegal. But if everyone is doing it, they have a safe system where, even though they are not obeying their own laws of the land or their own matrix laws that they create, you know, it's a very deceptive and very convenient control system for them. So, you know, human beings have to abide by the laws of the matrix, but because the matrix beings are surrounding human beings, they are secretly breaking their own laws and rules that they created to control a human being, but they are not controlled by them. They are acting as though they are gods. And in their own minds, they believe they are, just as Lucifer and its beings sought to prove that they were not only gods, because to be accurate, they were already acknowledged as gods, but they were not regarded as what they call the Most High or the God of all, because they were created by that creator being. It's like if I create a god or a being and then exalt that being should not be able to surpass the creator. You know, like if I make that toy there, if I make that frog, should that frog, as much as I admire it, should that frog be entitled to think that it is a creator being and that it should be the number one God and that I should be below it? You see, that's just an example. Not a very good one, I have to admit, so I think I might stop with my examples there. And I think it's time for me to I think it's I was going to play the music videos before the space runs out on the mobile, because I never know if I'm going to be able to use the mobile. There we have the elite demigods of the past, the demigod servants of Lucifer and its disciples. Many of these ones could indeed be like how shall we say, must keep making this video while it's quiet. Today is the most quiet day, but you never know. You know, they can't legitimately hit you with all the usual machinery noises on the street, because they have to have a work, you know, a non-working day, shall we say. Normally, that's why I prefer to make the videos late of a night if I can. Because don't forget, I've been sensitised to sound over the last 6 years, so basically, although to be accurate, the noises of the vehicles are deliberately abnormally loud and would be regarded as unacceptable under normal circumstances. But as these vehicles only make this noise when they're passing me, and then they stop, as you can see, it's a very clever game played against the human beings at a sight and sound level. The same with the blinking car lights, the exceptionally bright headlights, the pulling in and out of vehicles, the pedestrians walking, always crossing your path, and always in your line of sight. Because don't forget, they read the human mind. This is transhumanism. But also it has been stated that all Satanists are psychic. Human beings are all psychic too. It's just that, like myself, you're unaware of this ability. And even when you become aware of it, you don't know how to use it. You don't understand, like myself, always when you are being told something psychically. But I cannot read the minds of the Satanists, but they can read my mind, because they have used technology and their psychic ability, whichever way you look at it. Because don't forget, I still don't understand the different, well, it's a bit like human beings. All human beings have different abilities, different levels of intelligence, different awareness, different ways of looking at things. Sometimes, most would all have the potential for awareness in a lot of areas. But it's like myself, until you become aware, you may not be using all your intelligence. It may not be necessary, because if you don't think something's possible, you're not going to think about it. Whereas that's why I've been forced to think about things that I normally wouldn't have thought about when the Matrix came down and openly tried to control me. I should say openly tried to control me. They have controlled me. You know, it's unavoidable, like I say, that your mental, physical and psychological state of being is going to be affected if everything that your sight and sound, your senses are perceiving around you, is anti-life, anti-human and anti-you, anti-against you. How could you feel well? How could you be happy? And they are aware of these things. Some of them might be operating at a very base level, where they're just operating in what they call the spirit of narcissism, to where their little green man and their extreme state of envy and contempt of a human being, which is part of their nature, because they are descendants and disciples of the God entity of this reality, or the original Lucifer, the original being of light that had descended into darkness and became what we call Satan. It's all the same thing. I've only just understood this fully fairly recently, and it's still very difficult to deal with. You know, it is. Not sure whether to leave the light on or not. The TV has enough light and it's good, but any rate, I'll just try to keep going with this while I can, and the videos are entertaining in a negative way for me, because music videos, you know, which are naturally apparently produced by your elite androgyne demigod beings. They are your demigods. They serve the God entity of this world. They are its followers and believers. They may or may not openly express this. If they do express belief in a God, it will be under their affirmation of believing in God, but they will be believing their truth, which is that the God entity of the earth is the rightful God of all, you see. So their version of God is that. But they really are worshippers and followers and believers and servants, just as we're told that Lucifer had a third of all creation as followers when it descended into the earth, or left the area of creation, whatever that may be. You know, I have to try to explain things that I'm not consciously given privy to, shall we say. And as I'm ignorant and new to all of this information, after a lifetime of being completely in the dark about everything, even basic concepts of belief or spirituality or any form of a belief system or any form of worship of any God has been denied to me in my entire life. I see it now as practical, because I see Lucifer's matrix exposing itself to me openly daily. I would like to be able to show this in a video, but it is very difficult and near impossible, even though I have tried on a few occasions, only in the sense that, one, as you can imagine, it's a matrix, and because they read your mind and they are watching you 100%, know your every move, your every action, what you're doing, what you're thinking at any given time, they can turn everything on and off at will. So they may or may not allow you, as I've shown, they may continue with the high level noise, and you might press the video and record it. But they may allow that because they'll be like, well, we're doing major construction in her street, and we have been doing major construction in her street almost continuously for the last 6.5 years. But she can't show that, and even if she did, so what, they think. This is our world, our reality, and she cannot prove that if we want to pull down houses all over her suburb and have work being done repeatedly on the same streets, that it is not for real. And it is all part of, you know, the community, what people have decided and amongst themselves said, we want this council, we want this community, we want this form of control, we want these people in positions of power. And it's voted unanimously, just like when you have an election to vote people into power. you know, when you have to vote. You may not have much choice, but you will decide in putting those people in control of your reality. You may not think they control all aspects of your life, even though they do, but you know that they will control basic things around you. It's just that what you don't realise is that they're controlling everything around you, everything, every aspect of your life, watching you 24/7, staging everything around you, setting it all up so that you're in a state of either, you know, I was about to say confusion, but you basically, you know, seeing only what they want you to see. That's if you are not aware that you have a complete control system around you. Once you become aware of certain things, then they won't care that you see it, because they will be about total control then. They'll be like, if you're no longer in the dark, to where we can control you through confusion and through, you know, playing you to where you think everything is normal or natural, even though you're being completely patrolled and watched, but you're unaware of it. Once you become remotely aware of their matrix, even in small aspects as I did, then they will come right down on you. They will still hope, of course, like they did with myself, that they'll just drive you to where you won't know what's going on. And that's their hope and their intention and their aim. But sometimes it doesn't always come off that way, because you might get some information. You might, like myself, never doubt your own sanity. You know that if you are seeing people patrolling you, you know that if the same cars are following you around, because they deliberately want you to know you're being stalked and patrolled, but what they don't want you to know is why. Because you will be like, oh, why are these people against me? I don't know them. Why are these cars patrolling me? And why does it then escalate to where it becomes every bus? And why has the bus population of the suburb of Leichhardt multiplied to to 50 to 100 times more than what it used to be, to where buses are back to back and they're coming around every second? Why is it every lorry, every semi-trailer has got huge flashing lights all over it? Why are they driving aggressively and loud? Why has that population also escalated to 50 times more than what it used to be? Why was there no motorcycles on, hardly any motorcycles in the area, and now they also are like motorcycle gangs everywhere? But of course it's one big control gang, because they're all in unison. They all share a common need to control, because they are artificial android beings and they desire to control a human being. That's just putting it bluntly. That's the way it is. Believe it or not, as they say. I don't expect that if you, like myself, before 6.5 years ago, if someone had said this to me, I wouldn't have believed them. I would have thought they were paranoid, and even if I still thought that person was okay, it wouldn't have mattered. I wouldn't have believed it, and basically I wouldn't have cared, because if it doesn't affect you, you don't care. And you assume that that person just has some sort of complex, or that some people might not like them, and they're like, well, unfortunately, that's their problem. But none of this is all personal, but at the same time, it's not personal. You don't know these beings, but they know you. They have a fixation in their mind against you, because they see you as different to them. And they're not wrong there. You are different to them. They are no frequency beings, And human beings are all frequency beings, so they have the potential for higher frequencies. The no frequency, low vibrating human beings in a clone body, in other words, they're artificial android human beings in a clone body. That's what they really are. Or even if they're human, or what some people might, I think this is part of the delusion to a large extent, because I think most, when I look round at the artificial beings, I do see them as totally artificially intelligent, androgynous, androgyne machine beings. I do see them as that. I'm not saying that there aren't some, the possibility that, but see, from a spiritual point of view, the original Lucifer and its fallen ones that fell from grace, as they say, that means from, I guess, from a state of being in harmony with their creator, I guess. These beings were always probably different anyway. It's just that, like I say, even the creator of these beings saw them in only a positive light until iniquity, what they call iniquity, was found in them. You know, that's like human beings. Like human beings, often, particularly if they like something, they will then emphasize what they like and dismiss everything that they should see. They're not seeing the whole picture. That is like the same thing. And, because human beings are all frequency and all possibilities and more open to seeing more, like a bit more like being more easygoing, shall we say, that way. This will be exploited by the artificial ones. They understand the human mind better than what I would understand my own mind, because they study me, I haven't studied them. I have desired and tried to study them over the last few years for the sake of my own survival. Actually, knowing does not stop this control system. Doesn't stop, if you have powerful beings around you and they're minions, because it's also mainly a numbers game, really. That's basically their edge, and their advantage is their numbers. I've said this all along. If it was just a few that were patrolling and trying to control you, if you were not too sensitive about that, even though human beings are highly sensitive to any forms of what we would call being bullied, that's the word I'm looking for, being bullied. You only have to have one bully and you can get a complex. Like when you go to school, there might be a whole school, we know this, and it's only one bully can literally bring your whole world down. But you're talking about a whole race of bullies, a whole species of bullies. They are a artificially created race of human beings. And because they're created artificially, they act artificially. They don't think human-like. They pretend to be humans because they have to assimilate and take over and deceive and control. But pretending to love doesn't make you a lover. But for all practical purposes, if I believe it, which you do, then they are a lover. So you think they are in love. You think they're a real human being. You think they have human traits, human potential, human emotions. they only have negative emotions, or even what you'd call negative human emotions. Human beings have the potential for everything. They have all emotions. They have potential for for all human emotions. We know this. The race of androgynes that are essentially the same as artificially intelligent machine beings, they only operate with the what we call negative human emotions. They only operate out of, and because of this, they essentially are ideal disciples for the God entity of this reality, because they essentially operate only through contempt of positive vibrations or positive human emotions. So therefore they seek to control the positive human emotions. In other words, if a human being tries to be happy, which is a normal human thing to want to do, they will desire to make that human being unhappy. And they know that if they patrol and control you, you will feel confined and limited, and indeed you will limit yourself even more, and you will feel frustrated and angry and end up feeling the same emotions as them. And many have pointed this out to me, that they want you to experience their reality and be part of their reality. This is transhumanism. They're getting on your wavelength. They're assimilating your good points to put up the great pretender act that they are the good, normal human beings, while they turn you into the angry machine beings that they are. It's a duality reverse world. They steal your good points and copy and emulate them, while they drain you of life and turn you into an angry, frustrated, lifeless human being, because you're surrounded by these dead, dark androgynes that are machine beings every day of your life. And you become feeling very hopeless at some point. This is very similar to the demigod androids that promote telling the truth about this on the internet, where they will express the same things as me and reverse it round to where they are the persecuted, even low. They are the truth-telling persecutors of human beings. This is also the endgame deception, which is extremely hard to acknowledge and accept, because but of course this, we have been told that in the end times everything will be reversed. The anti-God will pretend to be God, and people will worship the anti-God, presuming it to be the real God, regardless of what belief system you believe in. But it's all part of the matrix, so it's all part of deception, because the God entity of this world has always desired mainly to seek control through deception, rather than even through brute force or direct power, because human beings are a lot more seduced with honey than with